What's up to all the 90s kids? What's up? What's up, fans? So, free agency starts in about 2 weeks. For me recording this, it's Sunday night, the 24th. You guys are watching it Monday, the 25th. Free agency starts on the 13th. But then, like 2-3 days before free agency starts, there's a tampering window where essentially teams can talk to free agents, vice versa, about signing. And then all of a sudden, instead of that Saturday, the 13th, where all of a sudden everyone's like rushing, you get this news, Mike Wallace signs with the Miami Dolphins. I remember that. And I was like, whoa. And then I was like, whoa. You instead of that, all of a sudden that weekend beforehand, you start to hear, so-and-so agreed to terms with so-and-so, so-and-so agreed to terms with so-and-so, blah, 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 and all this shit blows up. So that's happening in about 2 weeks. 2 weeks from about today. But I want to talk about something else. So the Dolphins have been known for letting their talent go and then do better other places. Now, that's what they're known for, and that's the stigma that tends to be on the Dolphins, right? A lot of people like to say, the Dolphins let so-and-so go, and then they end up being really great on another team. And then the Dolphins trade away so-and-so, and then they end up being great on another team. But this is a list of essentially Dolphin players that have left the team that actually haven't done better than a lot of people want to make it believe that they've done better. So here's the criteria, right? I'm not talking about free agents that have come in and then left. So Mike Wallace and Dominican Sue, Brandon Marshall, people that we've brought in, Carlos Dansby, and stuff, people that we've brought in and then they've left. I'm talking homegrown Dolphin talent. So I got a list. Some of them I'm going to go into depth, and then there's a little names that I'm going to throw out there that you're like, who? And I'm like, exactly. We traded them away. We actually got something for them, and they haven't done crap anywhere else. But people like to say that when we have talent, we just trade it away, and then they do great at other places, which isn't the goddamn truth. So let's get into this shiznit by starting with Lamar Miller. Lamar Miller, Dolphin running back, the guy who had 1,000 yards rushing, 8 touchdowns. Everyone was like, Lamar Miller, he's the next best thing. Then the year after that, he goes 872 yards rushing with 8 touchdowns. Everyone's like, you let him go, you're dumb, you should have signed him, you shouldn't have let him go to another team. He's going to do so much better. In actuality, his best year was with the Miami Dolphins. In 2014, like I said, he had 1,099 yard rushing. He had 8 touchdowns. He had that 97-yard long touchdown run against the Jets, and that's about it. Other than that, his first year with the Texans, he had 1,073 yards. Again, not as good as his first year, only 5 touchdowns. So his year in 2014 with the Miami Dolphins, he had a better year than his first year with the Texans, and then after that, 888 yards. And last season, he only had 973, but he didn't play the full year. So again, Lamar Miller, best years with the Dolphins, and we didn't sign him in free agency because he was going to cost too much, which the Texans paid him a lot, and he had a good year that first year with them, but he didn't do better than his year with the Dolphins in 2014. Next guy on the list, let's break down the free agent let-goes of that year. And let's now go with Olivier Vernon, who was at the team for 4 years. Played his whole rookie contract out, right? He was good. With the Dolphins in 2013, he got 11.5 sacks. He was playing really well, and then it kind of tampered off 6.5, 7.5 for his last 2 years with the Dolphins. So, now, did it help having Cam Wake on the other side and Cam Wake was beasting? Of course it did. So the Dolphins wanted to keep him, but the Giants wanted him. The Giants threw a lot of friggin' money at him. Here, man, you're going to be the next best thing coming over here. You're going to get us some sacks and everything. Now, he didn't do bad. Again, his first year with the Dolphins, 3.5 sacks. His second year, 11.5. That's where he really blew up. And 6.5, 7.5. With the Giants, 8.5, 6.5, and 7 sacks. He didn't do as good as he did that 1 year with the Dolphins. Again, we let him go. We didn't want to pay him as much as the Giants did. I kind of think that the Giants overpaid him, especially for what they got out of him. But we let him go. And again, he went to the Giants. He didn't do bad, But the stigma that the Dolphins let their talent go and they do better on other teams is proven wrong with these two players. Their best year was with the Dolphins. Now we got Charles Clay. Charles Clay was with the Dolphins again for his 4 years, his rookie years, and he did pretty good. He was Ryan Tannehill's comfort blanket. He would always get these passes. In 2013, he was targeted 102 times with 69 receptions. He never really broke 1,000 yards, but in that 2013 season, he did have 6 touchdowns, right? 759 yards, 605 yards his last 2 years with the Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins wanted to re-sign Charles Clay, but Buffalo front-ended his contract for the first 2 years, so the Dolphins couldn't match the offer because we tendered him. So then we were like, all right, Charles, go to Buffalo and do whatever you want to do. He didn't do anything. 528 yards, 3 touchdowns, 552 yards, 4 touchdowns, 558 yards, 2 touchdowns this past year, 184 yards, and 0 touchdowns. His best years were with the Dolphins. So the fact that we let him go and the Bills overpaid him is just hilarious. Now let's go to more recent times. Let's go to Jay Ajayi. We traded him. We traded him because apparently Adam Gase didn't like him, because Adam Gase has his favorites. Also because he's a little bit of a head case. But let's go to Jay Ajayi, the guy that I want to break down season-wise, because this past season he played 4 games. He didn't do shit. Let's go to 2016 for Jay Ajayi, because Jay Ajayi's 2016 season was his breakout season, was the season that everyone said Jay Ajayi is a beast. This dude is going to be the next best thing, right? So if you look, Jay Ajayi on weeks 5, 6, and 7 blew up. 204 rushing yards, 214 rushing yards, and 111 rushing yards. He blew up. Great production in those 3 games. And if you look at week 14 against the Buffalo Bills, 206 rushing yards. Blew up. The guy did great for the Dolphins. Other than those 4 weeks, if you look at what he did rushing-wise, he never broke 80 yards rushing. Now, could that be the Dolphins' fault? Could that be his fault? Could they have not rushed him enough? Even though if you look at his attempts, they're up there. They're up there pretty high. Never broke 80 yards. So then let's look at the year he went to the Super Bowl with the Eagles. So he started with the Dolphins for the first 7 weeks. 2 games, he had over 100 yards. Week 1 against the Chargers, rushed for 122 yards. And week 5, 130 yards against the Atlanta Falcons. Pretty good. Other than that, the dude never did anything. Now, could that be the Dolphins' offensive line? Could be that the Dolphins' play calling? You never know. I also had no touchdowns in those games, right? We trade him to the Eagles. Everyone's like, you're so dumb. Why would you trade Jay Ajayi to the Eagles? Jay Ajayi was great for you guys. Jay Ajayi was so great for you the year before, when actuality, besides those 4 games, he didn't do shit. He's so great for you guys. Why would you trade him, even though he's got a bad knee and it's ligament on ligament? He's not going to stay healthy. He's also a head case and gets into fights. But why would you trade him? You got him for a 5th round pick, and you traded him for a 4th. You got an extra pick out of it. What's your problem? Yes, he got his ring, but look at what he did. He had 1 game for 91 yards. Other than that, he didn't do shit. Now, is that because they didn't feed him the ball? Quite possibly, but he had 1 touchdown. 1 touchdown. And then in the playoffs, didn't do shit. 0 touchdowns. But again, people like to say we shouldn't have let him go. Jay Ajayi hasn't done anything since leaving the Dolphins. His best year was with the Dolphins. Since then, hasn't done anything. Now let's get to Jarvis Landry, because everyone wants to talk about Jarvis Landry. We let him go. I didn't want to let him go. I wanted to sign him. I wanted to keep him, but I also didn't want to break the bank for him. And Dolphins didn't want to break the bank for him either. Again, maybe this regime would have kept him. Maybe this regime would have done things differently. But if you look at Jarvis Landry's receiving, he had 112 receiving yards with the Dolphins in 2017, and he had 110 receiving yards with the Dolphins in 2015. To me, had a lot to do with Ryan Tannehill favoriting Jarvis Landry and just constantly throwing to Jarvis the whole time. He would always get the ball to Jarvis and always try his hardest to get to Jarvis and didn't care about his other receivers. 2 over 1,000 yards receiving in 2015, 2016. 2017 kind of dropped off, but the team kind of sucked in 2017, especially when you have Jay Cutler there, not your boy who wants to force the ball to you at all times, and Ryan Tannehill. So we trade him to the Cleveland Browns. People think we should have got more for him, but he was tagged, and it was a lot of money on that tag contract, and then they had to do all this work. So we trade him to the Cleveland Browns, and he didn't even do as good as he did with Jay Cutler. 976 yards, 4 touchdowns. When he had Jay Cutler in 2017, 987 yards and 9 touchdowns. He had his best touchdown year with Jay Cutler as his quarterback. So since leaving the Dolphins, Jarvis Landry hasn't done as good. Now, with Jay Ajayi, I think his career is going to be over really soon. I don't think he's going to stay healthy, and I think the Eagles are going to move on with him. But with Jarvis Landry, he's got a lot left to prove. So that could prove me wrong and say, you know, his best years are ahead of him. Don't get me wrong. Jarvis Landry, his best years are way ahead of him. But as of right now, he hasn't done better since he left. So that whole stigma that the Dolphins have let talent go when they've done better kind of isn't true. I got one more guy I want to talk about. Then there's some other guys I want to just throw out there real quick because I'm going to name some names that we've traded away that you're going to be like, who? And then I'll talk about the one that really is the dumbest thing we've ever done. Finally, Vontae Davis. Vontae Davis was our cornerback. He was really good. His last year with us, he had 4 interceptions, and then he came to camp overweight. Just didn't seem like his heart was in it. He also quit on the Buffalo Bills at halftime, so it doesn't seem like his heart really is into football. 4 interceptions, then we sent him for a second-round pick, and if you look at all the time he's played with 2012 to 2017, the best he did was 4 interceptions. Again, same as he did with the Dolphins. So he didn't really do any better leaving the Dolphins. He kind of stayed the same with the Colts, and then Buffalo. We all know the story about Buffalo. So those are some of the names, some of the big names of guys that have left and not really have done better with another team, even though there's the stigma because of Wes Welker. We let Wes Welker go, and he's done amazing without us. It hurt me so bad when they let Wes Welker go because the first game I went to in Miami was the Chiefs game, and Welker was fairly new, and I got his jersey because I liked him a lot, and then they literally traded him that offseason, and I was so mad about it. But did they really know that this dude was going to blow up and be that prolific of a wide receiver? No. So the Patriots wanted him. They gave us a second, I think 2 seconds, and we sent him to the Patriots, and he has a Hall of Fame career. This dude's going to be a Hall of Famer. So the stigma that the Dolphins let their talent go and they do better elsewhere isn't true. Even look at Ndamukong Suh, who's not even our talent. He didn't do better with the Rams this year than he did with the Dolphins. And I got some names I want to raffle off at you. You got Will Davis, the corner. We traded him to the Ravens for a 7th-round pick, which we used to move up to get Jakeem Grant. Jonathan Martin, we traded to the 49ers for a 7th-round pick. Greg Camarillo, we all know about him, the great Greg Camarillo. We traded him to the Vikings for Benny Sapp, and we all know who Benny Sapp is. He's the one on opening night, Monday Night Football, let friggin' Wes Welker blow by him for a long, long touchdown. So there's the stigma that we've let players go when they've done better elsewhere. I don't see it true. Again, homegrown talent. They've not really done better elsewhere. Comment below. Let me know if I missed anybody. Let me know if I missed any guys within the past 18 years that we've drafted, have been with the team, and then ended up going somewhere and doing better besides Wes Welker. Because I've run down a pretty good list of players that haven't done better since they left the Dolphins. But let me get to one of your guys' comments of the day. And this comment's come from Take Me Out, and he says, believe it or not, the NFL Combine starts in a week. That should be interesting. Does Kyler Murray throw at the Combine? If I was Kyler Murray's agent, I would not have him throw at the Combine. Now, you might be like, why? You could show off his talent. He could show off who he is. He could show off all the great stuff in front of all these people and the national media. I wouldn't have Kyler Murray throw because he's throwing to wide receivers he's never worked with. He doesn't know what their tendencies are. They don't know what his tendencies are. He doesn't know how their foot placement is. They could suck. It's just all these variables that just make you look bad at the Combine. The Combine, besides the 40-yard dash and all the measurements and the linebackers, foot movement and stuff like that, is just a dog and pony show. It's just, hey, look over here. Hey, look what he can do. It's all flashy and nice and stuff. So when it comes to quarterbacks and throwing at the Combine, I wouldn't do it because, again, you don't know who you're throwing to from a hole in the wall. But I hope that answered your question. When the combine comes, I'm going to do some combine stuff as well. Talk about some of these prospects at the combine, how they did the 40-yard dashes, all that stuff. So let's get into the spiel. Follow me on Twitter because I'm going to tweet it out too while I'm watching it. So be sure to follow me on Twitter. Tweeting out a ton of stuff. I got a ton of stuff to post. A lot of if you miss a video, I will post it on Twitter. So be sure, again, follow me on Twitter. Go follow my Second Chill the Bit Boys. God of War, Resident Evil, Plague Night. If there's games you want us to play, a lot of you guys are suggesting games. We're also going to be doing Twitch streams. Go over there if you like video games and you like that stuff. Check it out. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already. I know a bunch of you guys probably like, I don't like video games, which I don't blame you. There's some gaming channels out there that I don't like to watch because they're stupid. So I don't blame you. But if you think you might like it, go check it out. Subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up. We're getting very close to free agency. Like I said, 2 weeks away. Some moves are going to happen. Not big moves for the Dolphins. Again, don't expect the Dolphins to go big, splashy, top-end moves. Expect them to get very good players in bulk. So give this video a thumbs up because you like these types of videos. You like these off-season types of videos. Lets me know. Also subscribe. I got a ton of videos coming out this week. Robert Kraft stuff happened. You guys wanted me to talk about it, but there's no news or there's not definite information that came out about it. It was just really stupid on his part because you're a billionaire. You could have just paid someone to come to you. He went and did stupid stuff. It's dumb. I hate the Patriots. If I was him, kick him out of the league. I don't know. I don't care. It's whatever. But be sure to subscribe. I got a ton of stuff planned for you guys. But like usual, I will see you guys real soon. Stay classy. And like usual, hands up.